So that little section was called the general instructions for the commander. And now we get into the straight up maxims. First one. The man who spends more sleepless nights with his army and who works harder in drilling his troops runs the fewest risks in fighting the foe. Self-evident. Reminds me of Major Lee in Colder Than Hell, who, remember, they're like patrolling to combat, and he's got the guys doing drills. He's getting after it. Next, never lead soldiers into combat before having made sufficient trial of their courage. So why we train hard. Next, it is well to hurt the enemy by deceit, by raids, or by hunger, and never be enticed into a pitched battle, which is demonstration more of luck than of bravery. So he's saying a pitched battle is like, there's luck. There's luck.
Yeah. Wait, what's a pitch battle?
Face to face,
oh,
head to head.
Straight up, yeah.
Next, only those battle plans are successful which the enemy does not suspect before we put them into action. Next, deception is often helpful in warfare. An enemy soldier who deserts us, apart from some plot, is of the greatest advantage, for the enemy is hurt by deserters more than if the same man were killed in action. Next, he who does not carefully compare his own forces with those of the enemy will come to a disastrous end. Here's a good one for you. Courage and discipline are able to accomplish more than a large number of warriors. Often enough, the lay of the land has been helpful in making the weaker force come out on top. Terrain. For those of you in the military, terrain, learn how to read terrain, learn how to use terrain. Learn how to figure out the high ground. Learn out where the dead spaces are. Learn where the ravines are that put you in a better firing position. Next, nature produces but a few brave men, whereas care and training make efficient soldiers. Soldiers who are kept working improve in courage. I'm going to say that again. Soldiers who are kept working improve in courage, while too much leisure makes them weak and lazy. Next, things which are unexpected or sudden frighten the enemy, but they pay little attention to things to which they are accustomed. You're used to that. After gaining a victory, a general who pursues the enemy with a scattered and disorganized army gives away his victory to his foe. And here's a simple one. The cause of war must be just. Next, it does not help to assemble the whole army in council or to keep sending for men when they are off duty. These things only cause discord in the army. I put that one in there because this applies to business a lot, where all of a sudden you're calling that person all the weekend nights.
Yeah. Staff meeting.
Yeah. We're having another meeting. I need to talk to everyone. Okay.
On their off day.
Burn them out. Be careful with that. Next, the soldiers must always be doing something even if no enemy is bothering us. Habitual idleness spells trouble for an army. So those two are kind of contradictory. Hey, don't be calling people all the time, but keep them busy. We got to figure out how we separate, in the business world, how do you separate work from life?
Yeah.
And as the boss, you got to make that distinction.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of seems like that makes sense. I mean, consider like exercise or something. Like you got to have the recovery period.
Yes.
You know, but you can't be just cruising, skipping days all the time. You know, so it's like that. What do you call it in the deal? Dichotomy.
There's a dichotomy in there. Yes. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Next, for what should be done, seek the advice of many. For what you will actually do, take counsel with only a few trustworthy people. Then, off by yourself, alone decide on the best and most helpful plan to follow and stick to it. Hey, everyone, tell me what's going on. Give me your ideas. Yeah, okay, great. A little bit smaller group. Okay, guys, this is the input we got. What do you think? And then guess what? The commander's got to make a decision.
Yeah.
You can weigh all those different inputs, but the commander's got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And then when you make the decision, you got to own it.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that's interesting, and I don't mean to go on too much of a tangent here, but I'll make a decision and execute with aggression, but my mind is not closed.
Yeah.
And if I go say, we're going to do X, and we start executing X and X is not looking good, I'll say, stop executing X. I was wrong. Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So just because you're being decisive doesn't mean that you're being stupid.
Right.
Just because you're being decisive doesn't mean you're losing your plasticity.
Yeah.
We don't lose our plasticity even when we make a hard decision. Even when I say this is what we're going to do, my mind is still open. And again, a lot of times I will try and break, as a leader, I will try and break big decisions into smaller incremental decisions that allow me to change course during the execution. And you know, and I've said this something like this before, but if we got a bad guy target and we think the bad guy's going to be there, the first thing I'm going to tell the guys to start planning. So they're going to start planning. Then I might put them, okay, guys, we're gonna go and put you guys in the staging area. Well, they execute. We're executing, but we are not executing. Right? All you're doing is going to a staging area.
Yeah.
Then I might even put a reconnaissance element out to watch the target. We're executing, but we're not executing. I could still say, okay, stop. Everyone come back home. We don't think he's there. We don't think it's a good mission. We think it's a trap. Whatever. So I committed. I made a decision. We're going to hit this target. But I made that decision incrementally. I didn't just say, we're going to hit it. And now no matter what happens. Yeah. So a lot of times as a leader, I look at the big decision. Okay, yeah, it's a big decision. And I'm going to be decisive on it. But I'm going to make incremental progress towards that decision. That way I can be adaptable as I move towards that execution.
Yeah.
A very important lesson to learn. Very important lesson to learn. Yeah. I never just jump off the cliff.
Right. It's like you're creating a point of no return, unnecessarily or something.
Yeah, there's a last point of cover and concealment is an actual term that we use. Last point of cover. So that means there's a target. And once you cross this line, now you actually do have to go.
Yeah.
Now you're out in the open. They can see you.
Yeah, do or die.
So that's the point. But that point should come so far down the road that you can execute the target. You can execute the target. You can execute the target, but you still haven't actually executed until you've gone past that last point of cover and concealment. Yeah. Once you're there, once you go past the last point of cover and concealment, you're done. Yeah, you have to go.
Yep.
But that should be very late in the game. And it's the same thing in the business world. Oh, we want to open up into this new market. Okay, let's do a reconnaissance to that market. You're executing.
Yeah.
But you might do a reconnaissance to the market and say, you know what? It's not what we thought it was going to be. Stop. Okay, let's get a building. So now you're going to lease. We're not going to buy. We don't go in there and buy a building because we don't want to own that thing yet. We don't know the terrain well enough.
Yeah.
We're going to lease a building. Guess what we're doing? We doing an 8-year lease? No. We're doing a 2-year lease. Yeah. We're just going to slowly execute incrementally because we might get in there and say, it's not looking good.
Right.
So think about how you can break these major decisions down into smaller incremental decisions that give you the adaptability. Next. If an enemy spy is captured while observing our forces, then it may be well to release him unharmed if all our forces are strong and in good shape. The enemy will absolutely be dismayed by such reports. On the other hand, if our forces are weak, the spy should be treated roughly, forced to divulge enemy secrets, and finally either be put to death or sent off elsewhere under guard. Obviously, we don't put our prisoners to death anymore. But you know what's interesting about this in the business world, and I've worked with all kinds of different companies, and the reason I keep talking about this spy stuff and the captured is because every industry out there, they are constantly competing for people.
Yeah.
And whether it's technology companies, whether it's financial companies, they're always trying to recruit each other and they're trying to get this guy to leave and they're trying to pull this person over. A lot of times I work with companies, they don't realize that all other companies are like this. There's only, they say, well, the thing is we people are trying to recruit our people all the time. Yes, it happens in every industry. Every industry's got people trying to recruit their people. And that's why I'm talking about this stuff, because if you think about it, if you know someone's going to go to another company, let's give them some bad intelligence before they leave. You know, let's say that we're thinking we're not going to go into that market. Let them know that.
Yeah.
You are going into that market, by the way.
Full speed.
Yeah,
actually.
full speed. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying this again. You know, you get to this point where, you know, as a upstanding human being, let's be straight up with people. But I'm assuming now that someone has maybe done you wrong.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to take clients, they're trying to take business away from your business. So now we're getting into a little bit of some hostilities are brewing up.
Yeah.
So some psychological warfare.
The game within the game.
There's a game within the game.
Yeah.
And there's a game within the game. And again, you have to maintain your integrity as a human. Yeah. And then that is definitely, for me, the absolute primary thing, right? Is to maintain your integrity. Yeah. They're not maintaining your integrity with you. Maybe they're going to get some misinformation on the way out the door. Sorry, that's the way it works.
Yeah. And like
the only problem, you know, I'll kind of draw back on that a little bit, and I'll tell you why. One of the best things about when someone leaves a company, one of the best things you can do is treat them good as they leave.
Yeah.
Really, because when they show up at that new company that made all these promises to them that are not true. Yeah. And they're looking back and going, man, you know, Jocko was just honest with me, and he told me he wanted me to stay, and he told me that, you know, we're going to grow, and he told me he didn't have an opportunity right now, but he would find one in the future. He believes me. Yeah. So I'm going to actually retract my statement about using these kind of, you know, putting your integrity at risk. It's better to maintain your integrity. And it might not be better instantly, but in the long run, you're going to be better off.
Even with like a spy situation. So, I mean, kind of consider, I don't know if you were to draw the analogy of a spy, like let's say a temp came in your company and he's really a spy because he's a temp somewhere else. I don't know, whatever. And you find out, or you get, you know, like information, whatever, that leads you to believe, oh, that guy's a spy, right? And then you start essentially lying to him about projects or, I don't know, whatever, goals.
Yeah, I'd probably just get rid of him.
Yeah.
I'd probably just
still treat him nice, kind.
I'd be like, hey, listen, I don't think you're here for the best reasons. Yeah. And in fact, I think you came from this organization, and I'm going to let you go. Yeah. If you ever want to come back here in earnest, you know what? I think you got a lot of potential. And I think hold on. I think that the fact that they did this to you, it shows that they don't really respect you. But if you want to come to a place where you will be respected and where we work with integrity, this is the place for you. Let me know if that ever happens. But for now, because of the way this is shaken out, I can't have you here. Because you know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to protect my team. I'm trying to protect what we're doing here. And you know what we're doing? We're doing something positive. And what you're bringing right now, it shows you the weakness of the people that you've been working with on the other side. It shows you that they're weak. They're trying to do these things to us. It's not going to affect us, by the way. We are going to win. Why are we going to win? Because we are staying on the path. See, now you approach it like that, you're going to win all day long. Brother. So let's just retract. You know, that's why people don't understand, man. Integrity is so important. And the minute you start giving up, even under these adverse conditions, when you give up your integrity, in the long run, you're going to hurt yourself. And I kind of got drawn into it, right? Even myself, I'm like, oh yeah, spies and all this. No, be straight up. Yeah, maintain your integrity.
Don't put them to death.
No, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, dang, that's way more advanced than kind of what I was going to ask you. So, what if like you expose them? You know, like you expose the company or the person. Like, oh, hey, everyone. I don't know. You know, now we have. You know.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be. I would do it in an appropriate way. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't be trying to set them up and make them look up and say, hey, listen, guys, we found out that Bill, he's actually still getting paid by X company over there. Yeah. And Bill, we're gonna have to let you go. Appreciate you coming over, but you know, we here are a team. We stick together. You're not part of the team, obviously. So we can't have you here. If you ever decide that the weak team you came from is not for you and you want to get on board with the winning team, let me know.
Yeah, that's advanced to kind of let them know that, like, hey, I still like you and everything, kind of thing. You know, the opposite of burning a bridge. Yeah. It's like you're kind of building it.
And there is nothing better. A lot of times companies that we work with, somebody will leave. And it'll be under those weird circumstances, right? They'll get a good offer. And again, all companies do this. They say, "I'll give you a signing bonus." Right?
Yeah,
give you a signing bonus to come over. Okay. And the signing bonus, that's a way to get somebody over. And they say, "Don't worry, we'll give you this, and we'll give you a corner office, and we'll give you this, we'll give you helpers, and we'll give you this title," right?
Hell yeah, the title.
They lure them in with all those things. But all those are recruiters. They're not telling the truth about stuff. Sometimes. The best recruiters tell everything straight up, right? The best recruiters are like, "Oh, you're doing this? Yeah, they're really good at that. Your company you're at, Echo, they're really good with that. You're right. Here's where their weaknesses are. Here's where we beat them. Your decision." It's honest, and it sets your expectations right. So that when you show up, you're not thinking, "Well, Jocko, you said that this was the best at X." No, I didn't say that. I said we're the best at Y. X we're working on, right? That's what you want to do. It's just what I'm talking about is integrity. That's what I'm talking about, and you got to maintain it. Best thing to do.
Dang.
Easy to win in those scenarios.
Is that one of those take the high road or the high road?
Take the high ground or
high
the
ground.
Or the high ground's going to take you.
There you
Absolutely. Go. All right. Back to the book. If the soldiers show signs of cowardice, various skills should be used to restore their courage. Next, take your time in planning, but when you have made decision, be fast in putting it into action. In war, opportunity is fleeting and cannot be put off at all. Opportunity is fleeting. That's not just talking about war. That's talking about business. That's talking about life. Your opportunities in life are fleeting. What are you doing with them? What are you doing with the opportunities you have in front of you right now? Are you capitalizing on them? Are you going after them? Because they're fleeting. They're not going to be there. They might be there tomorrow. They might be. In a week, where are they? In a month, where are they? They're gone.
Yep.
The opportunities are fleeting. So get after them. Next. Let the Army see that you are not unduly elated over successes nor utterly cast down by failures. We already covered that. Next, it is not the general whose words are frightening, but the one who gets things done, who is feared by the enemy.
That's a big one right there.
Be the person that makes things happen.
Yeah.
Be the person that makes things happen. That's, in the military, my guys, I was in, a SEAL platoon or a SEAL task unit, or when I was running training, I had guys, my boys, my people, man, they made things happen. If I said something to them, it was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was going to happen. There was I didn't give it any direction. I'd say, "Hey, we need this." They'd say, "Got it." Done. Yeah. That's the kind of person you want to be. Not the person that comes back, a week later and says, "Well, we tried to make some progress here, but I really ran into a brick wall with so-and-so." Yeah. No.
Yeah.
My guys didn't hit brick walls. And if they hit them with sledgehammers and busted through them.
Yep. So, Jade Wood.
Jade Charles. Echo Charles's brother.
Yep. So he'd be like, this
Twin
happened,
brother.
This happened more than once, is why I'm saying he would do this, but maybe twice. Anyway, he'd say, "Hey, I know you're going to the store. Go buy me some wine while you're there." And he's like, "Hey, it's this kind, I don't know, whatever kind wine." So I'm like, "All right, I'll do that for you. Favor kind, no problem." I go in the wine section, aisle, whatever, and he's like, "Hey, it's this," and there's wine, there's white wine, red wine, Bordeaux, Cabernet,
bunch
all
of
this
different wine. Yep.
Yeah, and then there's the brands. So basically, it's a wall. The whole thing is all wines. It's not the kind where there's sugar, oil. This all wine, different kind. And he's like, "I want this kind." I'm looking at this thing, bro. I was here for tomatoes. That's it. I don't want to spend 1 hour looking for wine. So you kind of come to like this decision you got to make, I could easily just grab my tomatoes, go home and be like, "Bro, you know what you sent? You sent me on a treasure hunt for your wine." I could say that and it'd be justifiable, really.
So you grab a bottle?
No. As you would say, hold the line. He asked for wine. I said I would get wine. I'm going to get wine and I'm not going to say anything about it. That's what I did. Found it. Gave it to him. And I know where it is now.
Legit.
Right? Because justifiably, I could have said, bruh, hey, I'll do it next time. Or show me next time we're there, show me where it is. You know, but bro, I didn't have that kind of time, whatever, you know?
You got the mission done.
Yeah, do. What do the guys say? They say, don't talk about it, be about it. Yeah, don't talk about it, be about it.
All right, next. Plan what you have to do at night and carry out your decision during the day. One cannot plan and act at the same time. Before you go to bed at night, make your list of what gots to get done. Next, the general who is overly harsh with his subordinates and the one who is too indulgent are both unfit for command. Fear leads to great hatred, and giving in too much results in being despised. It is best to take the middle course. It means balance. Got to balance. So this is the dichotomy of leadership. Don't want to be overly harsh. Don't want to be too indulgent. I like the fact that he says giving too much results in being despised.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I've heard that. Like in the SEAL teams.
Wait, that expression?
No, I should say I've seen that idea. Where you get a guy, of course, you get a platoon leader that's really overbearing and no one likes him. Yeah. Right? And it's not a good unit. But you get the guy that just gives everything. He's not liked either. He's not respected. Yeah. That's the problem. And he might be everyone's buddy. Right. Doesn't make anything happen. Doesn't have a good unit.
Advantage of, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Next, after agreeing upon a treaty or a truce with the enemy, the commander should make sure that his camp is guarded more strongly and more closely. I bet you, Maurice, the way he writes these things, they must have gotten re-attacked on multiple occasions because he is paranoid. If the enemy chooses to break the agreement, they will only gain a reputation for faithlessness and disfavor of God, while we shall remain in safety and be true to our word. The general should not have to say, I did not expect it. Next, for smaller forces, we should select a place with a narrow front whose width corresponds to the size of our army. The superior numbers of the enemy are useless in such a place since there is no room for them. This is classic Battle of Thermopylae. Pick a place that's really narrow so all those Persians can't attack you at the same time. It is a good idea to maneuver so that the sun, wind, and dust are behind our men and in the face of the enemy. By so obscuring his vision and making his breathing difficult, we should quickly be victorious. Think about those environmentals. Next, we should line up our troops for battle before the enemy gets ready. This puts us in a position to do what we wish and barely allows the enemy time to arm. So be ahead, be early, get up early.
Be first.
Be first. If we are all set for the charge, then we can attack the enemy in safety with our men full of confidence and the enemy very worried. Next, if the enemy is put to flight, our soldiers must be restrained from plundering. Otherwise, while they are scattered doing this, the enemy might reform and attack them. Once again, I like Maurice's paranoia. Next, the general is at fault if most of the army is destroyed in a single battle. We wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. That's what it's about.
Dang.
Own it. Next, an army which shouts out its war cries, good and loud, can strike terror into the enemy.
Is that like the rugby? The New Zealand,
the Haka.
The All Blacks, you know, they're they're doing that. Yeah,
the Haka's awesome. Have you ever seen they do the Haka in like memorial services?
Yeah,
that is very moving. I mean, it doesn't get much more moving than that.
They get up. Even the football teams in Hawaii do that too. Some of them they'll do that before the game. It's kind of, I think in Hawaii they're used to it, so it might not have the effect. But what if like you've never seen it before, or you're not expecting it, and they do that? You're like, bro, these guys are kind of like they're ready, they're nuts, you know? Yeah, it's cool.
Next, our commander ought to adapt his stratagems to the disposition of the enemy general. If the latter is inclined to rashness, he might be enticed to premature and reckless action. If he is on the timid side, he may be struck down by continual surprise raids. So you're making adaptations. I know you got a bad temper. Oh, I'm gonna bring it out.
Yeah.
Or you're passive. Cool, I'm gonna get aggressive on you. The general should be impartial in dealing with his own men with allied forces. He should be a just judge for both. When he gives presents to the allies, he should make a regular increase in the gratuities for his own soldiers. So he's talking about they would adopt these other armies, and he's seen treat them fairly, treat them justly. You know where you see this a lot is when we get acquisitions in the business world. Mm-hmm. So one company takes over another company, and a good leader is going to treat people fairly. A bad leader is going to be taking care of the guys that he's always been with.
His boys, yeah.
So you got to be careful of that. In wartime, the general should do more than his share of the work and take less than his share of the gain. This will enhance his reputation and secure for him the goodwill of all. Do more than your share of work and take less of the share of the gain. Aware of the uncertainties of war, the general ought to be ready, even after victory, to listen to the proposals of the enemy for peace on advantageous terms. So, got to keep an open mind. The best general is not the man of noble family, but the man who can take pride in his own deeds. Next, the general must correctly manage not only matters of immediate concern, but must also take thought for the future. Common sense. But how often do we see people not doing that? Not thinking about the future, only being concerned with what's happening right now. Next, the best leader is one who does not willingly engage in a hazardous and highly uncertain battle and refrains from emulating those who carry out operations recklessly and are admired for their brilliant success, but one who, while keeping the enemy on the move, remains secure and always in circumstances of his own choosing. We dictate the situation. We dictate the situation. A greedy general can be the ruin of his own people and an object of contempt to the enemy. A general who loves luxury can destroy the whole army. Next, the commander is the one who can instill courage at the right time and can hold back the headlong flight of frightened soldiers. Next, a general who desires peace must be prepared for war. For the barbarians become very nervous when they face an adversary all set to fight. That is why my foreign policy is one word: strength. Because the barbarians get nervous when they know you're ready to fight. Mistakes made in ordinary affairs can generally be remedied in a short while, but errors made in war cause lasting harm. This is why combat is like life, but amplified and intensified. Next, those whose performance is consistently poor should not be entrusted even with just ordinary responsibilities. Next, the sharp general takes into account not only probable dangers, but also those which may be totally unexpected. Next, make peace a time of training for war, and battle an exhibition of bravery. So during peace, prepare. Next, the general should not go to sleep before reflecting on what he should have done that he might have neglected and on what he has to do the next day. Get ready for the next day the night before, period. Mm-hmm. Can you do that? Yes, you can.
I think that's good to not go to bed without reflecting on it. I think, I don't know, but it seems like that's something that most people probably wouldn't do. Just in life, I mean, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is about life.
Yeah.
You don't have to put that caveat on there. This is about life.
It's life. I think that's a good one, yeah. I mean, shoot, go to bed. It's time to go to bed. Whatever, yeah, I got work tomorrow, but, you know, you don't reflect.
Well, it doesn't take long to say, you know what? This is what I got done today.
Yeah.
This is what I got done today.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is something to think about. When you're prepping to get stuff done, when you know you got a long day, think about how good it feels when you accomplish a lot in one day. Yeah. That's how you want to go to bed at night.
Yeah.
Going, yeah, I nailed this. I nailed this. I nailed this. Oh, I messed up this, but I'm going to get on it tomorrow and fix it.
Yeah, that's the part right there.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't take long.
I'm going to do that.
Echo's going to do it. Why don't you do it while you're editing videos for this podcast?
I do, bro.
I like it. Next, it is well for the general to exercise self-control at all times, but especially during war.
Yeah.
Next, the general should not be hasty in placing confidence in people who promise to do something. If he does, almost everyone will think he's lightheaded. So you can't just be, hey, I know you're going to take care of it. I trust you. Gotta put it in check a little bit.
Yeah.
Next, long and careful deliberation promises great safety in war, whereas hasty and impetuous generals usually commit serious blunders. Next, the general should set an example of how things ought to be done for his subordinates, training himself in the highest ideals, doing what is right, and refraining from those things his soldiers should refrain from. Set the example. The general should make sure of the good disposition of his troops by an oath. Next, if the general knows the inclinations and tendencies of each officer and soldier, he will know better what duties should be assigned to each one. Know your people. Next, the general who wants to keep his plans concealed from the enemy should never take the rank and file of his own troops into his confidence. So just be careful. Be careful who you're telling. Mm-hmm. And does that contradict, having transparency in your leadership? No, it doesn't. You don't have to divulge every single idea that you have to your entire chain of command. Yeah. Especially because you're going to change those ideas. Things are going to adapt. Things are going to get different. So this isn't contradictory. Yeah. To say, you know what, I'm not going to tell every single person, especially if you've got a security situation. Yeah. Right? I mean, we're talking about national security. Yeah, there's things that are need to know only. That's a legitimate thing. Yeah. Hey, if Echo doesn't need to know this, and that can happen in the business world too. Yeah. Because you do have people leaving. You do have spies. You do have all these people coming and going from businesses. So this is legit. This isn't a lack of transparency. This is prudent information control.
Yeah, I go home, I tell my wife, and she's cruising with her neighbor, and they're like, hey, that was interesting. So the wife goes home, tells the husband, now everybody knows.
Who's putting together all those little dots, painting a picture. Next, when both sides are equally well armed, the better tactician will win. Next, the general who possesses some skill in public speaking is able, as in the past, to rouse the weak-hearted to battle and restore courage to a defeated army. Work on those skills, just like we learned in the guidebook, the 1950 guidebook for military officers. Work on your speaking skills. How do you do it? Practice. Mm-hmm. It is good to occupy any hills in the area before the enemy has a chance to do so. Boom, take the high ground. Yep. This is awesome. Reiterated again and again and again, take the high ground. Next, as in the past, misleading moves taken by the general can be very advantageous. For example, if he makes it look as though he's going to set up camp, the enemy might be lured into doing the same thing. Then while they are scattered about getting things ready, he may secretly draw up his troops and attack, or he may quietly withdraw his army if the terrain is unfavorable. Simple. Next, in his movements, the general should act like a good wrestler. He should feint in one direction to try and deceive his adversary and then make good use of the opportunities he finds, and in this way he will overpower the enemy. Same thing with jiu-jitsu, by the way.
Right, he could have swapped those out if he wanted to.
I guess he could have said pancration.
Sure.
Next, in battles and in every action against the enemy, the wise general, even the most courageous, will keep in mind the possibility of failure and defeat, and will plan for them as actually occurring. Huh? You're confident? That's great. Plan for what's going to happen if it fails. What's the worst case scenario? What if things go wrong? What are you going to do? The spirit of the commander is naturally communicated to the troops. And there's an ancient saying that it's better to have an army of deer commanded by a lion than an army of lions commanded by a deer. Yeah, that's a pretty common one. Next, if you imitate the enemy and do what he is doing for his own benefit, you only harm yourself. Conversely, if you do something which is to your advantage in trying to imitate you, the enemy will injure himself. A lot of times you do see that in the business world where the competitor is something. So like, oh, we'll do it too.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not saying that's never good, but if you're doing that, it means you're behind. So try and step up, come with some original plans, and make something happen. Next, a wise commander will not engage the enemy in a pitched battle unless truly exceptional opportunity or advantage presents itself. We're hearing that over and over again. Next, whatever terrain the general chooses, he should make his troops familiar with it. They will then be able to avoid rough spots, and because of their knowledge of the area, will fight the enemy with confidence. Know your terrain. Next, when the general leads his men out to battle, he should present a cheerful appearance, avoiding any gloomy look. Soldiers usually estimate their prospects by the appearance of the general. So if you're in a leadership position, that's what they're saying. If you're in a leadership position, the people are watching you. And if you look like sullen and downtrodden, guess what? They're going to think we're about to get whooped. Next, after a victory, the general should not allow the men to break ranks right away. For it has happened often enough that the enemy, on noticing that our men have let down their guard and rejoicing and have broken ranks, have regained their courage, come back to fight, and turned our victory into defeat. Don't let your guard down. Boom. I think we're hearing that loud and clear from Maurice. Next, when the enemy is surrounded, it is well to leave a gap in our lines to give them an opportunity to flee, in case they judge that flight is better than remaining and taking their chances in battle. Next, an army is judged by the spirit of its general. Next, it is better to avoid a tricky opponent than one who never lets up. I'm going to say that again. It's better to avoid a tricky opponent than one who never lets up. The latter makes no secret of what he's doing, whereas it is difficult to find what the other is up to. So, conversely, which one do you want to be? Of course, we want to have determination, and we never want to make sure they know that we're never going to let up. But you really want to be the one that keeps them guessing.
Yeah.
Harder to deal with. Next, the commander should be severe and thorough in investigating charges against his men, but merciful in punishing them. This will gain him in their goodwill. Next, the general should be calm in emergencies, prudent in counsel, courteous to his associates. He will be most successful in battle if he charges against the enemy not like a wild beast, but in a calculated manner. Next, the general should be ignorant of none of the situations likely to occur in war. Who can attempt to accomplish what he does not understand? And ask that again. Who can attempt to accomplish what he does not understand? Who is able to furnish assistance in situations whose dangers he does not understand? So you got to get the knowledge. Next, the general must make plans to defeat the enemy not only by arms, but also through their food and drink, making the water unfit to drink and poisoning the grain. And that's, again, we're not just attacking on one front. We're attacking on all the fronts. We're not just attacking with swords and bows and arrows and lances. We're poisoning the water. We're poisoning the grain. We're attacking at every possible angle.